Have you ever noticed this weird pattern? No matter how much you grow, no matter how positive you try to be, you still end up attracting toxic people. And here's the scary part. It's usually not because you're unlucky. It's because of one invisible habit you're doing without realizing it. But don't worry, we're not fixing it yet. Because first, you need to see how deep this goes. And trust me, by the end of this video, you'll never look at people the same way again. The pattern. Let me ask you something. Have you ever met someone who felt amazing at first? They listened, they laughed at your jokes, they felt like your person. And then, slowly, they drained your energy. They crossed boundaries. They made you doubt yourself. Now here's the creepy part. If this keeps happening, it's not random. But before I tell you why it happens, you need to hear what toxic people are actually looking for. And no, it's not weakness. Shocking example. I once knew someone, kind, smart, emotionally aware. Everyone loved them. Yet somehow, they attracted manipulators like a magnet. One friend guilt-tripped them, one partner controlled them, one coworker constantly dumped problems on them. From the outside, people asked, "Why does this keep happening to you?" But the real question was scarier. What are they giving off without knowing it? Hold on to that thought, because the answer is uncomfortable. But first, let me tell you something toxic people never admit. Toxic people's secret. Toxic people don't look for bad people. They look for good people. Yeah, I know, that sounds backwards, but think about it. They don't want someone who fights back immediately. They don't want someone who says no easily. They don't want someone who leaves at the first red flag. They want someone who tries to understand, gives second chances, explains their feelings calmly, believes people can change. Sound familiar? But here's the twist. Being kind isn't the problem. The problem is what kindness turns into without boundaries. And that's where the real issue starts. The invisible signal. There is a signal you send without speaking. You don't text it, you don't post it, you don't even realize you're sending it. But toxic people read it instantly. It says, "I'll tolerate more than I should." And before you argue, wait, let me show you how this actually plays out. Relatable moment. Picture this. Someone disrespects you just a little, not enough to explode, just enough to sting. You feel it. Your stomach tightens, your chest gets heavy. But instead of addressing it, you laugh it off. You rationalize it. You tell yourself, they didn't mean it like that. Now here's the part nobody tells you. The moment you ignore that feeling, you teach people how to treat you. And toxic people, they love teachers like this. But why? That's the part most people completely miss. The psychology. Toxic people test. They don't attack immediately. They poke, they push, they observe. They ask themselves one silent question. How much can I get away with? And if the answer is more than zero, they stay. But here's where it gets uncomfortable. Most people think they attract toxic people because they are too nice. That's not it. The real reason is way more subtle and way more fixable. But before I tell you, let me show you the biggest lie we've all been told. The big lie. You've probably heard this advice. Just be more confident, raise your self-esteem, love yourself more. Sounds nice, feels motivational, but it doesn't work. Because toxic people don't care how confident you feel inside. They care about one thing only, what you do when someone crosses a line. And most people fail right there, not because they're weak, but because they're afraid of something deeper. Let's talk about that fear. The fear. The real fear isn't confrontation, it's loss. Loss of connection, loss of harmony, loss of being liked. So instead of saying, "That hurt me," you say, "It's fine." Instead of saying, "Don't talk to me like that," you say, "Maybe I'm overreacting." And slowly, you shrink. Not dramatically, just quietly. And toxic people notice that quiet. But here's the crazy part. They don't respect you less because you're kind. They respect you less because you don't protect yourself. And that leads us to the real solution. But don't rush, because this is where most people mess it up. The wrong fix. Some people hear this and go extreme. They become cold, they cut everyone off, they turn rude and call it boundaries. That's not strength, that's armor made of fear. Real protection doesn't look loud, it looks calm. And this next shift is what actually stops toxic people without you changing who you are. But first, you need to understand one powerful rule. The rule: toxic people don't leave when you explain, they leave when you enforce. Read that again. They don't care how clearly you communicate, they care what happens after. If disrespect happens and nothing changes, you've answered their question. But when disrespect happens and there is a consequence, everything shifts. And here's the wild part. You don't even need to say much. Let me show you. Example. Imagine someone constantly interrupts you. Old version of you explains feelings, waits for change, gets frustrated. New version of you, you stop mid-sentence. You say calmly, "Let me finish." And if it keeps happening, you disengage. You leave the conversation. No drama, no speech. Guess what happens next? Toxic people feel uncomfortable, confused, exposed, because now they cannot control the situation. And this leads to the final truth. You don't stop attracting toxic people by becoming harder. You stop by becoming clearer. Clear with your energy, clear with your standards, clear with what you allow and what you don't. And here's the beautiful part. Healthy people love this version of you. Toxic people disappear. Not because you pushed them away, but because they no longer recognize you. And that's the real win.